Hi, my name is Taylor Armstrong. I'm a manager in our risk and internal audit practice, and I'm going to be talking to you about disaster recovery planning. Disaster recovery planning is important for many reasons. The first reason is it reduces downtime. No business likes downtime. With any type of disaster, whether it's natural or man-made, there will be downtime. The best way to limit this downtime is with a comprehensive disaster recovery plan. The more in-depth the plan, the better your chances are of avoiding massive amounts of downtime. With a plan in place, you can jump back into regular operations quickly and in the process lose little to no data. Another reason disaster recovery planning is important is it limits your liability. When a disaster occurs, there's always the potential for losing data. In some instances, the disaster could even be something like a massive hacking, which implies a great deal of lost data. A thorough plan can help you limit the liability of that lost data, or even in an operable business, by ensuring you have thought through the potential consequences and are prepared accordingly. Another reason disaster recovery planning is important is it helps you know what to do. When a disaster strikes, not everyone knows exactly what to do, who to turn to, or how to initiate much of anything. And all of this chaos will only lead to more downtime, more expenses, and potentially more loss. A disaster recovery plan tells you the who, what, where, when, and how of a potential disaster, so you know exactly what to do, who's responsible for what, and in what order. Another reason disaster recovery planning is important is it helps you retain customers. Having a disaster recovery plan enables businesses to maintain a high service quality. And reacquiring an old customer in the aftermath of an IT disaster can be nearly impossible and is a disastrous effect that so many businesses have experienced firsthand. So a proper DR plan can help you keep those customers. And ultimately, it helps to reduce the overall damage. A disaster recovery plan can help your team maintain the status quo as best it can during a data disaster. Businesses stand a better chance of preserving its professional reputation and maintaining client relations, which means it can continue to make money. And it can even help your company stay within industry standards in the event of a data loss. A lot of regulations now require companies to have some sort of contingency plan. Business continuity and disaster recovery are two things that people think are the same, but they're actually quite different. They're commonly contained within one overall business continuity and disaster recovery plan, but ultimately they're two separate concepts. Business continuity has a much wider scope. Its objective is to keep business operations running and return to normal. Disaster recovery, on the other hand, is a part of business continuity, and its objective is to restore critical business data and applications and minimize downtime. There are several key elements of a disaster recovery plan. One of the most important elements is having a recovery point and recovery time objective. A recovery point objective is the point in time to which an application must be recovered, or the amount of data that you risk losing during a disaster recovery, calculated in relation to the amount of time required to complete the process. A recovery time objective is the largest amount of time an application can be down, typically measured in hours, minutes, or seconds. Another key element is having a detailed response strategy guideline and procedures. This includes having a list of all necessary contacts, procedures for how you're going to communicate the disaster, and procedures for data backup. The third element you want to list out is your disaster recovery sites, whether it's a hot site, which allows for immediate recovery, a warm site, which provides hardware and software but no customer data, or a cold site, which provides only the infrastructure. The fourth element you want to detail is what type of disaster recovery service you're using, whether it's self-managed on-site disaster recovery, or maybe some or all resources are outsourced to a third-party provider. Whichever service you're using, that should be documented within the plan. Another key element to include is your disaster recovery team. This is a group of specific individuals who will handle different recovery activities. This should include the contact information for each member, their job roles, the specific actions each person will complete, and the time frame in which they should be completed. And then lastly, you want to make sure you include maintenance and testing activities in your plan. The plan should be reviewed regularly to make sure it is in alignment with your company's current needs, and then you must test your plan at least annually. This helps to ensure that all critical applications and procedures are disaster ready. If your DR plan doesn't work, it's just as bad as not having a DR plan at all. Those are just a few common elements. There are many others, such as risk assessments, equipment plans, and training plans, but ultimately, the DR plan should be as detailed as possible. Overall, there are a few crucial thoughts that you must have when developing your disaster recovery plan. You want to consider the entire business and not just the IT side of things. You want to remember that communication is key to success. You want to have a backup plan for your data and have a backup plan for your backup plan. Hackers are getting more and more sophisticated, so this is becoming more and more important. You want to keep up to date and test your plan, and always have it available electronically and keep a copy at your DR site so it's always accessible if a disaster strikes. And remember, with adequate planning, you can minimize the time, money, and effort costs associated with disaster recovery. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. This is Baker Tilly, now for tomorrow.